Hi, everybody. Today we are going to take a look at different options when we are creating a multimodal composition. So just like we think about the rhetorical situation, the context, the information that our audience needs, the information we need to know and understand a project, all of these genre expectations, all of these steps in the writing process are also part of creating multimodal projects. So as we think about what options come into play when we think about visual design in addition to just alphabetic text, these are things we need to think about. So as we go into our pieces, we've talked briefly about the rhetorical context as we think about multimodal text. So your role as a writer, as that connects to who you imagine as your primary or even secondary reader, the relationship between the writer and the topic, the relationship between your reader and your topic, the choices that you make as you go through that. As you start to create and circulate multimodal text, whether physically or digitally, you also start to deepen the amount of context. It's not just about why you've been asked to write or what's motivating you. It's also about how you're sharing it, what aspects you're meeting or breaking as you think about genre, which modes have you chosen to engage in? Are you leaving one out on purpose? Are you anticipating that your audience won't participate in that or understand that or appreciate that? There's lots of decisions that you make in this process as well. So thinking about this, we have talked about it briefly, but as I promised, here we are back again, talking about the different options. What are the different modes? So linguistic, visual, oral, gestural, and spatial, right? And so these are the things that we're thinking about as we start to plan and design a multimodal piece. We have to think about how do these options and which options do we want to take and how do they relate to what we're trying to say and share and the way we're trying to say and share it and who we're saying and sharing it with, right? All of these are specific decisions as you go through this process. So thinking about the linguistic mode, this is the one that we're most comfortable with. Sometimes it's called alphabetic text because it usually is printed. However, linguistic mode does work with spoken. So right now I'm using the captioning function in PowerPoint to capture the closed caption piece. That is a visual linguistic option, right, that I've chosen to engage and turn this on so that we have both the spoken linguistic, right, which also combines oral, what I'm saying, as well as what I'm speaking and how I'm speaking it. I'm adding the visual linguistic option by having the captions enabled, right? So there's lots of different ways that these things mesh together as you start to think about it. It's not just linguistic mode, there's all these other pieces that go as well. We think about the organization of the text. So again, we're really used to this in alphabetic texts, thinking about phrases, sentences, paragraphs. How do we break them up? Sometimes with headings, those kinds of things, which also go into visual and spatial. But all of these are related together. And you're thinking about, as you think about primary linguistic mode, you think about coherence of your ideas. So as you read something and say, does that make sense, right? Within a peer review process or in your own review process, that's what you're thinking about is the linguistic part. What's making sense? Am I putting the ideas together in a sequence that makes sense for my message and my reader? So that's thinking about linguistic. So then we think about visual mode, which includes images and other aspects readers see in a text. You can see the list here, a lot of different options. Just like when we think about our adding to the conversation, if you want to start incorporating charts or graphs as part of your research aspect, sometimes you might see pull quotes, right? Of thinking about how are you framing things, how are you putting things together. We're adding in the layer of, as you choose an image, do you need the whole image? Are you framing it? Sometimes we call it zooming, right? In a little bit. We'll also talk about options, you're thinking about where the action goes, how do you frame it so that the reader's eye is drawn into what you're doing? And we'll talk about that when we look at the craft design principles elements, that kind of comes in here. Sometimes as you're thinking about accessibility, Visual is going to be replaced by oral or spatial. So reading an alt text or providing a caption, those kinds of things are very important as well when you think about accessibility in a multimodal text. So the next one is oral, and you hear that I'm saying it oral, not oral, and you can see that the captioning is not keeping up with the aural, A-U-R-A-L is what it's supposed to be, right? So this is thinking about music, sounds effects, noises, silence, right? That can be intentional, having silence rather than always speaking. You can think of public speakers that are very recognizable. If you think about comedians who do impressions, especially political figures or other actors, a lot of times they're relying on this aural sense that, visually they don't look like the person they're imitating unless they choose to do some kind of makeup or something like that. But they're trying to sound not just the tone, but also the pacing, the emphasis, and the accent, right? And again, thinking about accessibility, this is often replaced by linguistic or visual modes, again, with the hearing. So you can look at transcribing and creating just a transcript of the linguistic component, or you can go the full level and do a clear closed caption, which also includes the doors closing and screaming in the background and sirens in the background, right? So there is a difference. How much level are you going to give for these accessibility supports for other members of your audience? So spatial. So really, when you think about the interaction between elements, this is really where spatial comes in. For a lot of our alphabetic texts, we're really told Times New Roman, 12-point, double-spaced, here's what it has to be. As we start to open up into these digital multimodal pieces, you're going to see that you have more freedom in how do these pieces interact with each other. How does placement have an element here? Think about facial expressions, hand gestures, body language. Those kinds of things are also part of this. And then the gestural is where movement can be used to make meaning. And we are used to really thinking about speeches and watching, hands move or not, those kinds of things. But also, as we look at the craft design principles, we'll see that two of the basic principles are about this gestural proximity. A caption goes right by the image it describes. It's not on 5 pages later to explain it. Or if it is using a footnote system, sometimes it's a little more difficult for your reader to understand the connection, right? So it's thinking about how does the reader make the connection? How does the person that's interacting with this also think about the gestural mode? So just thinking about some of the possible examples that we'll be working on for our circulating project. If you're looking at an infographic, you're looking at how linguistic, visual, and spatial elements using headings, text, visuals, that kind of stuff can convey your information. Looking at a pamphlet or a flyer or something like that, again, it's linguistic, visual, spatial. Looking at social media deliverables, depending on, are you doing a video? Are you doing a series of images? Are you doing a TikTok? Those kinds of things. The oral and gestural may or may not come into play. It really depends on what is it you're doing. So that's why we did the step of understanding the genre expectations. What do you see in samples that you're trying to create and replicate, and what will you keep from them and what will you do differently from them? So again, thinking about the context. Yes, we're sharing this. Yes, we're spending the modes and using the genre, but do remember that you are still in the academic genre where citation is an aspect of what you have to do. You still have to have your works cited page. You still have to have your in-text citation. So how will that work in an infographic? How does that work in a video? Where would you put that information? Those are some of the questions that we're going to have to wrestle with as we go through. How do we make sure that we're still, yes, meeting the genre expectation for the project you're creating, but still, because it is part of an academic context in which you are a student, you want to make sure that you have that as well. So I look forward to seeing your projects, and I can't wait to see what you're working on next.